So let's start. And welcome to our webinar from Access to Action and explore how use body interact with your students. And for those who don't know me yet, I'm Hannah and I'm a part of the Body Interact team. I'm glad to have you all here today to reflect on how you confidently can start using Body Interact and integrate the Body Interact in your teaching practice. I know that some of you already work with the Body Interact, but I will share to you another strategies, another pedagogical approach that can help you to foster the engagement of your students, and this could be important as well. So, this webinar will be recording, and it's not just about delivering information, it's about to create an interactive space. So at the end of this webinar, we'll have a space to a Q&A session where you can put your questions, where you can share your feelings with me. And I would like to let you know that all attendees will receive a certificate of the attendance in the final of this webinar. So, as I mentioned, this webinar may be a little different because we are going to look for the first steps to using the Body Interact. We are talking about some strategies, but let's check the goals for today. So the goals for today is to understand the common challenge that educators face when using the Body Interact. It's very important to understand what is difficulty to integrate the Body Interact in your institution, explore practical strategies to integrate the Body Interact with your students, learn how to use scenarios to engage learners and encourage reflection, and also discover the full range of the Body Interact resources that we have available for you in BI Studio. Because nowadays we have in BI Studio several resources that can help you to understand how you can use Body Interact in your institution. But let's begin, and I would like to start with a short video about the introduction of the Body Interact. And if you would like this video, I can share with you in the final. I have a QR code, and you can scan the QR code, and I can send to you this video for you can start using and understand the main steps of the Body Interact. And I can share with you. Let me know if you heard the sound of the video. You can put on the chat.
Welcome to Body Interact. In this video, we'll guide you through the first steps to ensure a smooth navigation and help you get the most out of your Body Interact experience. So how can you start using Body Interact? Body Interact is available for download on Android, iOS, macOS, and Windows devices. You can also access it through the web version. Or, if your institution has acquired a Body Interact table, you can log in using your credentials. We recommend downloading the app for a smoother and more stable experience. Detailed hardware requirements can be found in our Help Center. Please note that we release monthly updates, which can be installed at your convenience. Now that we are in Body Interact, let's get into some details: the home screen, the training center, and the settings. In the home screen, you will encounter the list of patients available in your license, access to the learning management system, and to Body Interact Help Center. Next, the training center. All present and future scheduled sessions in the BI Studio will be displayed here, organized by training, evaluation, and OSCE sessions. Remember, if you schedule sessions for your students, you will be able to view them here, exactly as they would. Moving to the settings. Access your profile to change your password. Select the language in which you would like the scenarios to be displayed. If you switch from, for example, English US to English UK, the scenarios will follow the language and medical guidelines used in the UK. You can also adjust the unit system to match your preferred standards. Additionally, adjust the volume for the patient and nurse voices, as well as the health monitors. If you're using Body Interact on screen sharing platforms, consider lowering the health monitor volume to make it easier to maintain a dialogue with your students. Finally, under Other, you can define parameters such as subtitles, use settings, and the metrics displayed at the end of the simulation. Let's explore the features behind Body Interact scenarios and the connectivity between Body Interact and the learning management system, the BI Studio, in the upcoming videos.
Sorry. I think this is a great way to introduce the Body Interact and to understand where you can access the Body Interact and also the interconnection of the BI Studio, the learning management system, that is very important. And during this webinar, we will explore how important is the BI Studio as well. But I don't know if you may already know or have seen this video before, but I think it's important to understand before the video, after the video, I think it's important to understand what challenge you have been facing, you have been feeling when you are using the Body Interact. So I have here some points where that can be considered challenge in your daily practice. So I would like to request you on the chat to let me know what challenge do you face. Please put the number of the challenge that you consider that in your practice that you are facing when you're using the Body Interact. Let me know. Put on the chat. It's how to start using, like the web browser, the app, which scenarios to choose, what strategies I can use during the classroom, for example, how provide access to scenarios for my students. This is question, it's more, I have here some questions. One, okay. Flavia, great. This is a great webinar for you. Okay. 3 and 4. Okay. We all talk about all strategies. 2, okay. 2, 3. So I have 1 and 2. Perfect. So many of you are facing like 1, 2, 3. And the great thing that I would like to share, this webinar will cover those points. And but as you see, you are not alone. So all of you have challenge, and this webinar serves as to understand how you can overcome these difficulties. And this is very important to understand where we can help you to start using the Body Interact. So the first thing, and I think it's Flavia mentioned this, is how to start using the Body Interact. So I will start how you can start using Body Interact. You have 2 ways. This is the first thing. You have the web browser and you have the app. As you saw in the video, you can access through the web browser, and if you scan here, you can go to the link, and also here you can go to the help center when you have all detailed information about the requirements that you need to have in your devices to start using the Body Interact. So the first thing is or download the app or play the clinical scenarios in the web browser. We recommend always to download the app. Why? Because depending on the internet connection, the experience can be good or worse depending on the speed of the internet, because in web browser, you always depending on the internet connection. Otherwise, in the Body Interact app, you can download the app and, for example, you can play the Body Interact offline. But both ways, web browser or web app, allow you to have a full interaction with the clinical scenarios. So this is the first thing, it's how to access. So where is the Body Interact? This is the 2 ways to access the Body Interact. After you access to the Body Interact, you will find the main page to enter with your credentials. So you need to have an educator account and the password as well. You need to put the username and password, and also we will find the main page, you will find the page of the settings. It's very important to manage the settings according to your country, because depending on the country, the guidelines, the approach could be different. Imagine, for example, in Europe, we have paracetamol, and the United States, we have acetaminophen, and the approaches will be different as well. Because it's very important to manage the language, to manage the units before you go to the home page and explore the clinical scenarios. Okay? After you manage the settings, this is the first thing. The second step is to go to the home page and see the full library. So here you will have access to all full library that your institution has. So here you can see in all detail clinical scenarios. But you may ask me, but Anna, which scenarios should I choose? Because this is a very challenge, and I think one of you mentioned that it's very challenging to select the clinical scenarios, to understand what fit my goals, what fits my learning objectives. So, and the best way to understand, to explore the clinical scenarios is the learning management system, the BI Studio, where in BI Studio you can see in deep way explore the clinical scenarios. You can filter the clinical scenario by level, by main health condition, by learning objectives. You can review the quick solution guide that it's available for each clinical scenario. And it's very important to understand which scenarios you choose. If you go to the studio.bodyinteract.com, you can use the same credentials, so you can use the same email and the same password, and you can enter in BI Studio to understand what is the best scenario to select. For first-time users, we recommend to start with a simple scenarios, like a basic scenario, to allow students to focus on the assessment, on the reasoning, rather than the complexity. Always align the scenario with your learning objectives. This is very, very important. And here in the tab, the scenarios in BI Studio, you can go in deep way in terms of the characteristics of the clinical scenario to understand, okay, this is what I would like to explore with my students. Okay, Anna, but you may ask me, but how can implement this in my institution? How should be my next step? So, okay, I have the body tracked, I enter with my account, I already go to the BI Studio and select the clinical scenario to work with my students, but how can I have the strategy to integrate with your students? And you can start with, for example, in-class demonstration led by a teacher, for example, and you can explore with your students. The students will be guides exploring the scenario with clear expectations. So you can explain to the students what he expected during the simulation. This is very important to build the confidence, to have a bridge the theory and practice as well. And this phase is crucial for demonstrating the clinical reasoning, communication strategies, and step-by-step decision-making in real time. And this is very important for the students to think about, okay, my next step is that, my next step is that. So it's very important, this step-by-step decision-making in real time. And they can see in real time how the patient reacts about their intervention. So this is very important. Or also, for example, you can explore as well, like individual practice, giving the opportunity to the students to apply their knowledge independently, for example, at home. You can assign clinical scenarios for their students at home. This is very important to reinforce the critical thinking, to allow the students to progress at their own pace, while it's very important to consolidate the essential competencies. So you can, for example, work with your students in the classroom and then assign homework to them, and they can practice at home. Or, for example, finally, focus on a small group designed to promote communication, the teamwork. You can foster the teamwork and collaborative problem solving in the Body Interact. As you know, in healthcare education, learning how to think together is just as important as thinking individually. So it's very important to think in a teamwork, like the multidisciplinary team. And through the structured group activities, students can develop leadership skills, active listening, and share the clinical reasoning together. So this is three ways that you can use the Body Interact, but also I would like to share how Body Interact fits in multiple teaching methodologies, such as the flipped classroom, blended learning, pair-assisted learning, hybrid simulation, like the sim integration that you may heard about, the sim integration approach, where you can combine different resources. But I will talk about this in a brief. So problem-based learning, large group teaching, team-based learning, but I would like to explore in more detail each one. For example, the flipped classroom, the students can review the theory or complete a scenario before the class. So you can assign scenario for your students before the class. The students can practice at home. And when you return to the classroom, the class time is used for discussion, for the clinical reasoning, analysis, and the debriefing. And you, as a teacher in BI Studio, you can have the metrics and the results of the students, and you can check, okay, my students have difficulty in this area, in physical examination, in the communication. So you can tailor your teaching approach depending on the difficulties of the students. Or, for example, blended learning, you can combine the online learning with face-to-face instructions. For example, students complete independently online and can discuss later in the class. Body Interact functions as a digital activity learning component, and it is very important because I always mention in my training sessions that Body Interact, it's not a replacement of the teacher, it's a complement of the teaching approach. This is very, very, very important. This is a complement, it's not a replacement. So the teacher, it's very important to give this briefing, this debriefing for the students, to have like these discussions with your students to foster the critical thinking. And another strategy, the peer-assisted learning. Students learn by supporting and teaching each other. They complete scenarios in pairs or small groups, explain their reasoning. This strengthens communication and reinforce the understanding. I would like to share a video in a few minutes about the peer-assisted learning because this approach has been used by several institutions and actually brings benefits for learning among the students group because the students learn together, and it's for the students could be very, very interesting approach. I will be sharing a short video about these new pedagogical strategies. Hybrid simulation, as I mentioned, you can combine virtual simulation with other types of tools. For example, students can manage the patient in Body Interact and then practice skills on a mannequin or a task trainer. This connects the critical thinking and the clinical reasoning with hands-on skills, because we know that in healthcare education, the hands-on skills are very important as well. It's important to think about the time, the correct time to do the procedure, but the procedure itself, it's very important as well. So you can combine all these strategies. Another strategy is the problem-based learning, where the students are presented with a clinical problem, for example, a clinical scenario, and must determine what they need to learn to solve it. So Body Interact scenarios serve as a trigger for investigation and guided questions. A large group teaching, for example, in structure, the teacher can run the scenario live in front of the class. The students can discuss about the decisions before the decisions are taken, or encourage the collective reasoning and discussions and engagement for all students together. And finally, the team-based learning, it's very important because the students prepare individually, for example, and then work in structured teams to solve the clinical scenario. They defend the decisions as a group and compare outcomes. Okay, if I go for this way, the student reacts in this way. If I perform this intervention, the patient reacts in different ways. And this is promotes the collaborative decision making that it's very important in healthcare education. But I would like to share a video, and I will share to you where these videos are. Where are these videos for you? If you would like to see in more detail this different approach, where you can see in more detail. So let me check the first result.
Peer-assisted learning is a transformative educational strategy in which students teach and learn from one another through collaboration, discussion, and shared problem-solving. This approach leverages natural social interactions to create engaging, student-centered environments that build confidence, sharpen communication skills, and foster critical thinking. Learning becomes a two-way street. Peer teachers deepen their understanding by explaining concepts and guiding discussions, while peer learners gain insights through relatable explanations and diverse perspectives. Advanced students can also mentor peers, offering guidance while reinforcing their expertise, promoting knowledge consolidation, and developing critical thinking and problem-solving skills. Educators benefit from peer-assisted learning through expanded teaching resources and increased student engagement. By integrating peer-led activities, faculty or instructors can focus on advanced concepts and personalized mentoring, while peers support foundational learning. This approach enriches the curriculum with innovative and flexible methods, such as small group discussions, flipped classroom exercises, and case-based learning experiences. Thanks to its versatility, peer-assisted learning can occur in real time or asynchronously, in person or online, making it adaptable to diverse learning environments and student needs. Peer-assisted learning takes on a new dimension when combined with Body Interact virtual patients. Students can navigate realistic clinical scenarios, assuming different roles such as decision-makers, leaders, challengers, or collaborators. Reflection and feedback become integral parts of the learning process, allowing students to analyze their decisions, understand their impact, and align their clinical reasoning with real-world clinical practice. This powerful blend of peer-assisted learning and virtual patients challenges traditional methods. It invites you to apply innovative strategies that foster critical thinking and collaborative error analysis. You'll equip your students with the skills to excel in clinical practice and reduce future errors in interprofessional and interdisciplinary settings.
So, if you would like to see more videos about all strategies that you can use in your institution, in BI Studio, we have a new area that we call resources, that we have here these strategies that I talk about in terms of a flipped classroom, hybrid simulation. So here you have these videos and you can see in more detail more strategies to understand what is the best way to use in my institution. So how you can foster my teaching approach. So here you have all the detailed information about these strategies that you can access in resources in BI Studio. But I would like to share the steps to have an effective implementation. So it's very important to select the scenario aligned with your objectives. We already talked about BI Studio, see the clinical scenarios in deep way, and select a basic scenario to start using in your institution, a basic scenario aligned with your objectives. After identifying the BI Studio, if this clinical scenario match with your goals, and also download the quick solution guide and see how is the flow of the clinical scenario. Consider, for example, other types of simulation. Imagine that you would like to teach in terms of the IV line. For example, you can use like a test trainer. You can use a standardized patient or low or high fidelity mannequin. So you can combine
these strategies to engage your students. Provide orientation to the students. It's very, very important to conduct briefing sessions for the student to understand, okay, the main goal is that I will do my homework, but I already know what is expected to do during the simulation. You can start the simulation, for example, in the classroom, and you can ask your students, okay, what should be your next step? What should be, so foster this critical thinking. And after the simulation, you can conduct a guide debriefing for the students, understand what they did well and what they need to improve. But I would like to share with you some innovative strategies that foster the reflection. For example, at home, when the students can practice at home. I will share to you a video about the questions during simulation that we have. For example, here you have a patient that you would like to train with your students about the pulmonary assessment. So the student can perform the pulmonary auscultation, for example, and also after understand the sound, they need to think about, okay, what is it? What I identify that is wrong with my patient? And we have a question embedded during simulation for the students can answer, and the teacher knows if the students understand what they have access. And also, for example, in the final of the clinical scenario, we have as well the final, let me check here. So here we have in the final question that you already know, the summative assessment question, but also we have the formative assessment questions after the simulation that help the students to think about their action. Okay, what I did and what is my next step in terms of, for example, the re-education of the patient. So here, this is another strategies that we have in clinical scenarios that can help the teachers to understand if the students learn about the subjects that the teacher match. So the next step is how I can provide access to the clinical scenario. So how the students can access the clinical scenarios. And it is very, 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 very important. Keep attention on that. Because this question is very frequently, because the only way that the students can access to the body interact scenarios, it's the teacher needs to assign scenarios for them. Otherwise, they will not be able to see any clinical scenarios. So to provide the access to the body interact scenarios, you must to create a session. We recommend always to start with a training session, a simple training session, and assign a simple clinical scenario. So you go to the iStudio, you enter in with your account, you go to the sessions area, you go to the create session, and then you need to create a session and select the scenario and assign the clinical scenario, defining a deadline, for example, 1 week for the students. And you can confirm the students' enrollment because you will receive the metrics and the results of the students when they play the clinical scenario. So the only way that the students see the clinical scenario actually is the teacher must to assign sessions for them. Otherwise, they don't see anything. So this is very, very important because some questions arise that, okay, but then how do students see the clinical scenarios? The account of the students doesn't have any clinical scenarios. It's correct because the teacher needs to assign clinical scenarios for them. So I would like we have 1 minute more, but I would like to conclude this webinar with a summary of these points. I bring to you a video about the training session, but I will put a QR code, and you can scan the QR code as well, and you can get access to this video because it can help you to understand how you can start using Body Interact, how you can use BI Studio. I will us the video in the brief way.
Welcome to your Body Interact and BI Studio training. Over the next few minutes, I'll show you exactly how to get started, how Body Interact can strengthen your curriculum, and how to use BI Studio to explore scenarios, assign them to your students, and monitor their performance with precision. You already have the scenarios ready in your account, making it easy to bring them straight into your curriculum. Designed to support clinical browser,
you have all the information that we talk about today in this webinar, all information together. And if you would like to have this video to see I think it's like 8 minutes of the video, but you can scan the QR code and you can see the video and explore in deep way how you can assess to what interact, how you can assign clinical scenarios for students. So here you have all this information. So in terms of the take-home message, I would like to have a sum up about what we are talking about today. So being the first step is to explore the Body Interact, could be web browser, could be app, and go to the bodyinteract.com, bodyinteractstudio.com, and enter with the same credentials and understand how the platforms can be used, the features, the possibilities, so you can see the scenarios in BI Studio. Select a simple scenario aligned with your learning objectives. And it's very important to start with a simple clinical scenario. Provide a clear and structured briefing before the simulation, and prioritize the patient assessment, encourage the critical thinking, asking for your students, okay, what do you find in this? What is the signs of symptoms that could be a concern about this patient? Allow mistakes as a learning opportunities. They are essential for the learning process, and conduct a structured debriefing to consolidate the knowledge and reflect on their performance of their students. So let me know if you have any questions. This is the QR code, it's to my email. If you would like to see more information about the guides, for example, you can write me, send an email for me, and I can answer your questions or schedule a quick meeting. For example, Flavia, if you have any difficulties when you start using, please schedule a meeting with me. I can have an overview. I can give you an overview and help you to start using the Body Interact. So questions, put your questions on the chat. Okay, Jacqueline, set up. Okay. Jackie, I will schedule a meeting with you to understand the number. I will share the number to try to set up the accounts. I will schedule a meeting to understand what happened. Yes, Tembi, the recording session will be access to the recording, the video of this webinar. Yes. And if you would like to see the videos, you can send an email and other videos or guides. We are always available. Another question: how I ensure that the students actually learn during the individual practice? This is a great question. How I can ensure that the students at home can learn? Actually, before, it's very important to give to them a clear objectives. Okay, it's very important. So the main goal, I assign the homework, and the BI Studio, you can write the session instructions. And for example, you can give the clear objectives. For these clinical scenarios, I would like that you understand what is the signs and symptoms of a hypertension patient, for example. After this, when the students play the clinical scenario, you in BI Studio can see the metrics and the results of the students. And you can see, okay, the students have difficulty in terms of the physical assessment. They need to know that in a hypertension patient, they need to assess, for example, the circulation, or they need to assess the cardiovascular system if you have in outpatient setting. So it's very important, the metrics and the results that you see in BI study, to understand that the students actually learn during the individual practice. Okay, how is the best way to organize an effective small group? Yes, it's in BI Studio as well. And if you would like, I can schedule a session with you. In the BI Studio, you can create small groups of students, and you can assign clinical scenarios for these small groups. And you can see the metrics of these groups in terms of the clinical scenarios. So you can create specific groups of the students in BI Studio, and you can assign to them the clinical scenarios. And for example, you can mention that group 1 is medical surgical, group 2 is I don't know, cardiology. So you can label the groups to understand, or group 1 it's the first year students, group 2 is the second year students. You can label the groups to understand which the best clinical scenarios for them. So if we don't have more questions, thank you so much for being with us in this webinar, and see you on next webinar. If you in meantime have any questions, please let us know, and we are here to help you to start using the Body Interact. Bye.